Welcome to the Artist Advisory Hotline, the podcast for artists who want valuable guidance and honest answers on how to grow their careers and develop their new project from leading art world experts and artists. Here's your host and founder of the Artist Advisory, Marina Press Granger. Tune in as she gets you the answers you deserve.
Hello, artists. I'm your host, Marina Granger, and I am so grateful. I have to tell you how grateful I am to have spent last week with many of you. For 3 days, you joined me in the live group training on how to get into galleries that don't accept submissions. And the vibe was amazing. It was just like so cool to see you there. Everything from like the pragmatic stuff we did to the EFT tapping, which I felt like people were over the moon. I was over the moon for you. And it was so cool. So thank you so much for coming to that. You brought me so much joy by being there. So thank you so much, because here I am literally talking into a microphone, staring at myself in the screen. And I'm like, oh, like who's out there? Anyone? And so here's the thing. If you have yet to watch the training, if you're into watching it, go ahead and do that by Sunday, this Sunday, July 21st at 9 p.m., because it's going to expire at 9 p.m. on Sunday. And that's really, really soon. So you might as well go and rewatch the training or watch it if you haven't yet. And it's really for anyone who's wondering, like, yeah, how do you get into these galleries if they don't accept submissions? And how come, my artist friend over there is having like all the success and I'm like, not, right? Okay. So, and also if you are ready to just shift your paradigm once and for all, to finally do the thing, get out of the block that you're experiencing, this is the vibe for you. And speaking of which, speaking of vibes and good vibes, I also have to congratulate wholeheartedly the artists who have enrolled into the Artist Academy. I am so excited for you. I want to wish you I'm like, I want to wish you so much luck, but I'm going to be there with you and it's going to be so fun. And just a big congratulations to you on finally taking that step to do something that is super different. I don't know how many artist guru coaches out there. Maybe I know some of them because they're my friends. I'm like, hi, Kat. I feel like you do this too, very much so. Like Katerina Popova is totally doing this, but it's rare that you come across someone who is a guide for artists, a coach for artists, who's also working on mindset and manifestation work. I mean, inside the Artist Academy, yeah, I'll teach you all the pragmatic stuff. We have all the really concrete info, but we're also going to learn how to use a pendulum, how to create a crystal grid, how to do EFT tapping so that you can focus your energy in the right direction. So if you're still interested in joining the Artist Academy, I really invite you to sign up now, because I have early enrollment pricing and bonuses available until Sunday, the July 21st at midnight Eastern. And then, we'll see if there's any spots left. We'll have a new kind of vibe for enrollment. But if not, take your bonuses now. All right. And the pricing. But anyway, so if you have been hanging out with me for a while, like especially over the last 2 weeks, you know that in the Artist Academy, I'll be teaching you how to master your mindset, get into good galleries, and manifest your dreams. And it's one of those programs that not only does all of this stuff, but it also teaches you how to have this really very practical situation happen, because I introduce you to gallerists. At the end of the program, you're going to meet two gallerists. Maybe instead of a gallerist, you'll meet a curator, but chances are it's going to be gallerists. And it's going to be so fun. You get to present yourself and your work to them. You'll be in the right mindset. Your presentation is going to be A plus, and you're going to make incredible connections. And if you listen to the previous episode of this podcast, you'll see what previous students have talked about when it comes to their experience in working inside the Artist Academy. They have, I mean, artists who have met gallerists there have manifested gallery representation. Amazing. All right. So today there's one more announcement I want to make. So I am delighted to present to you a group exhibition that I have curated. It is opening up on July 25th on the Lower East Side here at the Forma Gallery at 42 Allen Street. So Thursday, July 25th. 42 Allen Street, New York, at the Forma Gallery. And it opens from 6 to 8. And the subject of the exhibition, the title of the exhibition is The Feminine Divine. And every single artwork, as I was going through all the artworks and writing the press release, I realized that every single artwork in the exhibition is a good luck charm that embraces the feminine divine. And I'm so honored to present this exhibition to you. And if you're wondering, what is Marina talking about? What is the feminine divine? What's going on? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what the qualities of the feminine divine are and the masculine divine. But here's the thing. Everybody embraces both sides of the equation, both the masculine divine and the feminine divine. It's just people have different ratios, right? And regardless of gender. And here's the thing, the concept of the feminine divine and the masculine divine is present throughout many different cultures. And the artists in the exhibition have embraced some different cultures when they come to showing the aspects of the feminine divine in this work. So when it comes to the feminine divine, the characteristics, the traits are things like creativity, compassion, intuition, empathy, nurturing, intuition, collaboration. And when it comes to aspects of the masculine divine, right, we are looking at aspects like leadership, right? Like action, rationality, emotional endurance, not maybe showing all the emotions, which is totally fine, because we need aspects of both, right? It's all about balance. And so this exhibition focuses on the feminine divine and includes 12 amazing artists. So thank you all so much. I'm like, should I read all the artists out to you guys? I will, because we're on the podcast. So I'm going to just give you guys a shout out to Brianna Lance, E. Kono, uh, Sasha Yoselani, Katie Southworth, Deidre Sullivan Beeman, Mary Kate Marr, Bakani, Yana Balinson, Christy Gordon, Michelle Heinbrook, Gabriella Mazda, and Diana Kurtz. So thank you so much to the artists who have lent work, consigned work for this exhibition. And I cannot wait to see you all at the reception if you can make it. All right, so let's get down to the nuts and bolts of today's episode, which is really about something that I never really thought I'd be talking about on this podcast. If you asked me when I first started the Artist Advisory, would I be talking about this? I would say, absolutely not. What are you talking about? Why is it even a thing? But I have grown so much since then. And I have also started to embrace mindset and manifestation work when I work with you. So this topic is crucial to all of this work. And I've seen so many manifestation gurus who don't underline this as much, but it is one of the most important parts of the manifestation process. And that, my friends, is forgiveness. Now, let me tell you why forgiveness is so important. Well, I'll back up here and just rewind and tell you what the manifestation process is. I'll remind you again. The idea about manifesting is rewiring your mindset. And when you rewire your mindset, what happens is you start to make different actions, and that affects your reality. But before you rewire your mindset, you want to make sure that you are wiring it to the identity of the artist you aspire to be. Now, you're already perfect. I'm just going to tell you, if you're listening to this podcast, obviously you're already perfect, but we're all here for growth. We're all here to reach the next level of whatever it is that we're doing. And that next level is the identity of the artist that you aspire to be. When you assume that identity, you assume different beliefs. You have a different belief system about it. And perhaps the old identity didn't think that they could have a gallery reach out to them if they only had 3 finished artworks, but a gallery did. And a gallery then went on to take you to a major art fair and show your work in a show in New York City. And maybe this actually happened to you because you took the Artist Academy, you enrolled in the Artist Academy, and hi to Teresa, who this actually happened to. But when you assume these new beliefs, your thoughts are different, and your thoughts will influence the actions you take, the decisions you make, and that changes the result of your whatever you're doing, and it changes your reality. So, the key part here is adjusting your beliefs after assuming your identity. Your identity kind of gives you the goal, and the beliefs give you the new programming, the new wiring in your mind, right? In your subconscious mind, because you don't want to have to double check every time if you're making the right decision. We make over 35,000 decisions a day. That's going to be a lot of double checking. Okay. So here's the thing, getting new beliefs into your system is crucial. But one of the best ways to do that is to release the identity of someone who doesn't have any power. And what happens when you do not forgive, when you hold on to something, whether it's something that somebody else did or something that you feel about yourself, when you do not forgive, what happens is you give away your power and energy to holding that grudge, to feeling that rejection, that spite, whatever it is. And when you give away your power, then you are not the master of your destiny. And that's not what we came here to be. We came here to be the master of our destiny. As my my friend Greg says all the time, I think about it all the time. He's like got his own business, and I love hearing him say that. I mean, he's like, I'm the master of my own destiny. And I'm like, you are. And it's so good. So here's the thing. When it comes to having to feel forgiveness, right? You might think to yourself, oh, Marina, I'm totally fine. Like, I'm no one to forgive. But let me show you where this shows up sneakily in the art world. Okay. It shows up, and you don't have to logically think that you can't forgive someone. As a matter of fact, the logic behind this is that there is no logic. You don't have to, sometimes we tell ourselves we're not angry at something because it was no one's fault, but we're still angry. Right? So just because you have an excuse for someone or for whatever happened doesn't mean that you're still not holding on to it, right? So the way that this shows up is through rejection, spite, any sort of bad vibes that come towards you, that you have towards something or someone, or even towards yourself, right? So it shows up in not getting into an exhibition, maybe feeling rejected from an open call, or being rejected, or not getting a grant or an award or whatever, right? And maybe it's watching some of your friends or colleagues get all the things that you really want to get. And you're like pissed that you're not the one who's getting that solo show or whatever it is, right? And you're like, oh, how come they get to do it, but I don't, you know? And here's the thing, it could be when you're constantly responding to inquiries from collectors and they're not buying and you're mad because you spent all this time answering these inquiries and they didn't buy. Or when you're working with galleries and you're just feeling kind of like ignored because maybe they didn't put your artwork up on their social media or whatever it is, right? So this is how it shows up in the art world. And we tell ourselves over and over and over again, like, "Ugh, it's okay, the next one, whatever." And we bottle up those feelings and we start to feel a little jaded. And I know I have listeners out there who have been in the art world for decades, and those listeners who have been in the art world for, a year or whatever. And you may feel like you're not getting the results you want. And the reason you're not getting the results you want, the number one thing you got to work on is practicing this forgiveness. Because once you allow yourself to feel the feelings and forgive, right, you will start to realize that anytime you're angry, even when you think you shouldn't be angry, um, you know, because you're thinking to yourself, oh, it wasn't logical to be angry, or you're giving excuses, right? Anytime you're angry, you realize that forgiveness is important because the only thing that's going on is you're thinking about it. The person, the institution, the other thing that you're angry at has nothing, I mean, is not thinking about you. And it's taking away your energy when you're thinking about this. You also start to realize maybe, once you realize that forgiveness is really important, when I'm having you realize I'm talking to you in the past tense as if you've realized it already. Hopefully, it's not too confusing, but here's the thing. When you start to embrace forgiveness, I'll talk about this in the present tense so it's not too confusing. When you start to feel forgiveness, you start to realize that they can't make you feel like you don't have power because you're wondering, how could someone do this to you? Or um, it makes you feel like, oh, this person, the way they treated me, the way this turned out, the way this person didn't respond to my inquiry, the way this gallery didn't post me to their socials, the way that my friends are getting the shows but I'm not, the way that I'm not getting into the exhibitions. This makes you feel like you don't have any power unless you start to forgive, because then you release the energy that you're putting into thinking about it, and you start to realize that they have no control over you. You are the master of your destiny. And you get to make the choice of how you react to the situation. And by forgiving, you're realizing that that's not the only thing that's happening. Because when you do not forgive, what happens is you focus on the thing that has wronged you and its effects, and you perpetuate these effects with confirmation bias. So you're going to start to think, oh, yeah, like every single gallery is just going to not want to put me on their social media. Duh. And then you're going to make subconscious actions that, your subconscious will make you make the actions that will perpetuate that belief. And that is confirmation bias. You're going to start to believe, well, of course, no one's going to want to buy my work. It's probably too expensive. And then the way that you respond to inquiries, you're going to make these micro actions when you do it, and it's not going to happen, right? And also, when you're in that negative vibration, of being resentful or just having that grudge, you're not opening yourself up to opportunity. So, the key here is also to know that you don't have to forget. Sometimes you were really, really wronged and you don't want to forgive because you don't want to forget. You can forgive and not forget, right? But note this, whatever happened is in the past, and the past does not exist in this present moment. So it doesn't affect you in this present moment. It doesn't have to affect you in this present moment, right? Whatever happened in the past is in the past. All right. So I want to also remind you to forgive yourself too, because sometimes, we are really our own toughest critic. And you may think to yourself, I can't believe I did that. And then that moment happens when you're up late at night and you're thinking about the thing you should have said or should have done. And all you have to do is forgive yourself. So now that I've convinced you that forgiveness is the vibe, you're thinking, okay, Marina, like, how do I forgive though? I'm so mad. Well, the first thing that you can do is realize the importance of forgiveness. So just knowing this is the very first step. But to be clear, there are so many different ways you can start to forgive. You can journal about it. You can talk it out with yourself. Like if you're in the car right now and you're alone, you can talk it out by yourself. Or if you're walking, you can just like put your headphones in and talk to yourself. People will think you're on the phone, but also who cares what they think, right? You can start to first, before you even go into it, I really recommend that you practice gratitude. Just say what you're grateful for, and especially what you're grateful for when it comes to that situation. That situation, because there are little things that you could be grateful for. Because once you start to embody the belief that everything is happening for you and not to you, you start to see the world in a whole different vibe, right? Everything is happening for you and not to you. So if you really had to be, let's say the devil's advocate, how is that thing happening for you? Maybe the galleries aren't reaching out to you right now because they're not the right ones. And maybe if you did have a gallery show with the wrong gallery, you wouldn't be selling all the work. It would just pile up. But maybe it's all there for you. Maybe the universe is holding you back. It's telling you to take a nap before your big play date, right? Just like that, the universe is our parent, as one of my favorite manifestation gurus says, Catherine Zankina of Manifestation Babe. She says, the universe is like your parent. Sometimes it tells you to take a nap before you have a big play date. And you don't want to take the nap because you want to play right away. But it's preparing you to have the endurance for the thing that you most desire, which is that play date, right? So that is how the universe is always doing everything for you, not to, and things are not happening for, not that, things are not happening to you, they're happening for you. Oh my gosh. All right. So personally, I also want to say I recently started using an obsidian crystal, like a black obsidian, to help me release that negative energy. And so, if you're watching the video, like here is one, this is called an obsidian mirror. I like to just place the obsidian on my whatever chakra I'm feeling the negativity in and start to forgive. And the way that I do that is I say, I forgive you, whoever for whatever, and that is in the past. I forgive you, whoever, for whatever, and that is in the past. Okay, that's it. And this really helps ground me because black obsidian, what it does is it blocks, absorbs, and transforms negative energy. So it's great for me to have. So if you're into crystals, this is the vibe. But I want to give you some other tools. So there is something called Ho'oponopono, which is something that my feng shui master does all the time. And it's a Hawaiian chant that translates to I love you, please forgive me, thank you, more or less. And so just chanting in your language, I love you, please forgive me, thank you, is really, really good to practice forgiveness, right? Especially when you want to forgive yourself. But when you say, please forgive me, what you're doing is you're understanding that we're all one. It's the universal law of oneness. And it doesn't matter what they did. We are all one. I wish I could really break it down for you. I don't know if I can in this time that we have. Another thing you can do is EFT tapping, which I really love as a modality. I'm sure you can put into Google just like, or into YouTube, EFT tapping for forgiveness and get something really good. I like to do a prayer as well. I'm not religious at all. So whenever I do a prayer, if there's like a God or whatever in there, I like to say like the universe, or sometimes I say God. That's cool. But prayer is really good. And there is a wonderful prayer that um, one of the medical media, well, the medical medium that I studied with, Kimberly Meredith, has a book called Awakening in the Fifth Dimension. And in that book, there are a lot of prayers. And one of them is the forgiveness prayer. And it's so helpful, right? Actually, I'm like, should I read it to you guys? I would have to like pause and grab the book, but all right, maybe not. But the other thing you can do is a forgiveness meditation. And when it comes to the forgiveness meditation and meditation in general, you could have a guided one, but I want to give you one that you could do on your own that has been so powerful for me lately. So, what I do is I close my eyes, I take a few deep breaths, and I like to do my meditations right before falling asleep. Um, because I know I don't have to do anything, so I can do like take as long as I want. And when you take a few deep breaths, you close your eyes, you really relax. First thing you do is you go through, you find whatever makes sense for you, whether it's a tunnel or some sort of walkway, or I like to think of it as like a cosmic quantum tunnel, right? Because I really believe in the many worlds theory that there's so many different worlds that everything, that all variations of you exist already. So I go through this cosmic tunnel and I start to think, okay, I'm going to open up the door to the version of me who has forgiven this person. And I open up the door, or myself or whatever who's forgiven, open up the door and I envision that person. Sometimes it takes me a while. I'm like, okay, when I say that person, I envision myself and I'm like, okay, well, what do I look like? What am I doing? What am I wearing? What is my vibe? And I say, hello, tell me, what can I do to forgive this person? What can I realize to forgive this person? And that version of me tells me, and it's done. Then I say, thank you so much. And I drift off to sleep, but you might do this during the day. And so you might say, thank you so much, and do your thing. And this sort of meditation is really great because, this is how you can access the many different versions of you. And in Reiki, there's something called the higher self, and also in the manifestation world too. And the idea there is that there's a the part of you that exists in this world is so tiny compared to your higher self. You have a higher self that guides you. It is the part of your soul that essentially is still on the astral plane or whatever. And so it is your all knowing part. And that's actually how pendulums work. You can look at it that way, or you can look at it with psychology and think to yourself, okay, well, it's literally what my purest intuition is telling me, right? Because it'll affect the movement of the pendulum. So pendulums are like this, and you always want to keep your elbow kind of anchored, and I'll be like, okay, tell me a yes. And then like, okay, tell me a no. Right. And we have micro movements. Our hands probably do this, but it's how you tap into the knowledge, right? And you can look at it psychologically and say, like, okay, it's just your true desires. Or you can look at it metaphysically and say it's your higher self. Okay. So whenever I do this meditation, it's really wonderful because you can ask your higher self, you can access any version of you and ask it what it would do in that moment. So you can open up the door and open up the door to the version of you that has the identity of the artist you aspire to be. And you ask it, okay, well, what do I do? What can I do to get there faster? Or what can I do to get there? And the key in this meditation is when you're walking through the tunnel, or for me, I'm like in my cosmic tunnel or whatever. What I do is I identify the version of me that I want to see. I'm like, I want to see the version of me that has this. And then I go through the tunnel and find that version of me and I ask her the question. Anyway, so now that we have come out of the spiritual broom closet or whatever completely, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. If you are so called to leave a really good review so this podcast can help more artists, I would love it if you could do that. And I want to thank you so much for joining me and also invite you into the Artist Academy if you are so called. All the links are in the show notes, and I can't wait to hang out with you again.
Thank you so much for listening. Support your community by sharing this podcast, leaving a review, and follow The Artist Advisory on Instagram at @the_artist_advisory, and visit us online at www.theartistadvisory.com.